lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Modesto, corner of Burbank and Nicholson, welcome to the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio.
Charlie. Open air edition.
Open air, yeah.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Very nice. 2 weeks ago it was snowing, right?
I mean,
I remember that right.
You were deep sea fishing. We told, I think it was Massaro, we told you one of the Deep South's most respected anglers, headed down to Cabo.
Yeah.
And so we literally went from snowed out one Wednesday to the next Wednesday, open air, it snows.
Yeah, and then now open air here.
I mean,
it's fantastic, right?
Hope you don't have the flu. I mean.
No, definitely not. Well, such is where we live. We got Max down to Super Bowl.
Yes.
We got Randy McKay.
It's a good little
with us
experience
today.
for him.
Look, one of the guys, Taylor, stopped me in the hall yesterday. We were doing a podcast, and he says, "You missing being down in New Orleans?" And I said, I've done this a number of times. I'm content to let those guys enjoy the experience. We were down there the last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans. We did a week's worth of shows down for Baltimore and
shows
San Francisco.
But,
we've been there a number of times, which doesn't mean that we wouldn't go again, but we sat this one out.
Even if it wasn't the tragedy in my family, New Year's Eve or / New Year's morning, which is why these wounds are just too fresh to go down and try and have a good time and because man, Doug Kazarian is. Was down to Jonathan Von Tobel and my buddy from one of the administrators from Bet Rivers, and I've given all these guys where to go and restaurants and the best gumbo and the best barbecue shrimp and the best po' boy and things like that. But no, I just didn't want to. That's good that the station's down there because it's fun, and I don't regret going to any of those Super Bowls. It's not in the cards right now,
No, and that's just the way that feels.
I mean, I don't miss it, but I do miss not having to having the opportunity to be in person to entertain some of my friends from out of town. I do miss that.
And it evolves every year. When they did this opening night deal on Monday night, which they've done in the past, it's kind of this opening night gala thing. It's sort of doubled as media day. They don't maybe do exactly the way they did it with media days when we were there. They're going to have more media availability, obviously, but the one where they opened it up to everybody was Monday night. And we've been to Super Bowl media days before. Even 10 years ago.
Skip those. It's just
you've never been?
Too much.
The
whole cattle call, the girl in a dress asking, propose to me. No, not for me.
That's exactly it. You don't get it ain't about football really that night very much. It's about the spectacle, which is fine. I get that. Hey, this is the NFL's premier event, and they want it to be about more than just football. So I get it, but.
Well, for instance, so Monday was kind of light. Tuesday was definitely more of a push. Today through Friday, you'll really see, the people coming in. For instance, Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors are kind of going through the car wash today. Mm-hmm. They have their publicists and they schedule them for certain things, and they're obviously sponsored by something, and they ask them a few questions, and they pitch their, whatever they're promoting. So, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. And so, it's it'll be heightened up today. It's funny to listen to some of the national people, do the New Orleans thing. It's funny with the money they spent and what they had to do to get that stadium in L.A., so L.A. is going to be on the rotation. Vegas is a lock. I mean, they couldn't wait to have one there.
Right.
And so, New Orleans will be on the rotation, but to, not nearly the frequency that we had before.
No, you were averaging a Super Bowl every third or fourth year up through about the first 40 years of the event. And then the last 20, it's more like once a decade, really. It's been since it's been 10 years, better than 10 years since Baltimore.
And
San
it's been a
Francisco.
drought.
I mean, we were looking at Super Bowl tickets. Super Bowl 6 was in New Orleans. Super Bowl 9 was in New Orleans. Super Bowl 12 was in New Orleans. Super Bowl 15 was in New Orleans. Super Bowl 20 was in New Orleans. And after that, it started to space out a little bit more. We were looking at how much tickets were. The first Super Bowl I attended was Super Bowl 15, the Eagles and the Raiders.
Yeah.
And the tickets were $40. It was in 19.
Face value.
Face value was $40
Yeah.
on a terrace ticket in January 1981.
The yellow ribbon.
Big yellow ribbon. The hostages coming back from Iran, and
First wild card to win.
Yep, and Al Davis accepting the Lombardi Trophy from the commissioner, who, let's just say, they didn't get along real well.
He's suing the league.
Yeah,
it's just
3 years later when they'd win it, they'd be in Los Angeles with the Raiders.
He's one of at that time one of 28 or 38 bosses of the commissioner. So that's and it's I guess it's had just the most Super Bowls.
Yeah. This is 11. Number 11.
Whether it's my best team ever, the '85 Bears, who didn't give up a significant score, because didn't they shut out the Rams and the Giants?
Yes.
And
They did.
they fumbled the opening kickoff, did not give up a first down. That led to 3, and then it was 45-3 when they gave up a garbage. So they didn't give up a significant point.
No,
their defense.
They really didn't. I was watching the highlights of that game the other night. It just happened to be on, and I'd forgotten that Tony Eason had an open look to Stanley Morgan, and Mike Singletary got a finger on it at the end, and it would have been a touchdown.
You talk about that first drive?
Yeah, it was.
They one shot.
That was the only way. That was the only way to get. For all of the other cities, Miami and Los Angeles, that have had multiple Super Bowls, New Orleans, I don't think, even though they haven't had a lot of close games, 8 of the 10 have been double-digit margins, but you got Montana's last, Brady's first.
Brady's first is a big one.
Brett Favre's only one. First championship for these coaches, Hank Stram,
Tom
Landry, Chuck Noll, Bill Belichick. I mean, the kind of the who's who of coaches. The first one for all of those guys. The first of 2 for Tom Flores. What was the other one? The 15 game has got the interception record still stands. Rod Martin, 3 interceptions in that Raiders Eagles.
Well, that was the
game.
first wild card to win the Super Bowl.
The first wild card to win the Super Bowl. First game winning, not the first game winning kick, but a game winning kick would.
You just had Dallas and Pittsburgh's first Super Bowl championship, right?
Yes.
I mean, those are the kings.
Yeah, both the Starbucks Super Bowl titles were in New Orleans. One in Tulane Stadium, one in the Superdome. But both of the ones at Starbucks quarterbacks.
Yeah, the last AFL versus NFL matchup.
Kansas City and Minnesota in Super Bowl 4.
Kind of even the score before they officially merged.
Another Hall of Fame quarterback, Lenny Dawson.
That was the first time a coach was wired, and it's the most requested downloads. Hank Stram, who was a showman to begin with, and who may have added a little extra juice, and it's great stuff.
It really
is. It's kind of another thing that Steve Sable and his dad was Ed Sable. That's classic NFL films. It's kind of what made NFL films. Those Super Bowl music and the comeback to Johnny Unitas. The old veteran off the bench to try and lead the comeback.
And John Facenda doing the commentary.
Classic. The music.
They did some stuff on those things that was groundbreaking at the time. The telestrators that we it's so common now. It's standard. Well, when they put those telestrator things on the Super Bowl highlights, it was the first time that had ever been done.
Of course, you say Brett Favre, but Reggie White's only one too.
Reggie White's only one too. Ray Lewis's last game for Baltimore was in the Super Bowl. Desmond Howard's MVP, only special teamer to be the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Not great games. I mean, the last two. I mean, Brady's first win. I mean, it was one of the first. The Vinatieri had so many clutch kicks in that run. I mean, but, that was the breakthrough. They were the 14-point underdog.
Yeah.
Brady was a Thursday decision whether or not he would start because
How wild is that?
He had a nagging injury, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, remember the conference championship game at Pittsburgh? Bledsoe came in, because he got hurt. It played well. And
Bledsoe was the number one pick in the draft. He got hurt. He wasn't playing that
not
poorly.
Brady. I mean, there's been number one picks. It's terrible.
True, but he wasn't. I mean, by the time he got replaced by Brady, he had been a starter for 8 years in the league.
Well, you think Belichick kind of made the right choice?
Well, he did, and it seems so obvious now. But back then, it was.
Oh no!
You're going to keep this 6th-round pick in over the number one pick in the draft.
Well, the Hostetler. They stayed with Hostetler the next year. They started Hostetler over Sims.
Did they really?
Yes, indeed.
And see, in my head, I thought Hostetler, when he moved on to the Raiders, that was 2 years later. He started the Raiders.
But he started the next year.
And Sims had also had a Super Bowl.
He lost his job to injury, and nobody ever thought that. But I mean, if you do it in pressure like that, I mean, why wouldn't you be able to do it? But Brady, and that was the other thing. Brady went from game manager. I mean, they got the ball, was it 25?
It was in there,
25, 30,
something like that.
Maybe a minute, 12 range.
It was under 2.
Maybe a timeout or 2, not many. Yeah. Are they going to risk letting this – is he a rookie at the time?
Second year.
You look at this inexperienced quarterback are they going to risk it? I mean, it's like Drew Aller. They're going to let him throw the ball. It's very similar. Charlie?
I remember specifically listening. I was watching that game on TV, and John Madden and Pat Summerall were doing it again. And Madden said, I don't think that they will push it here. I think that they will be content to run this clock out and go to overtime and not put all the pressure on Tom Brady, which he wasn't Tom Brady yet.
He threw a swing pass to Antoine Smith, who got 12, 13, 14 yards and out of bounds, and then it was just, they kept it safe. But, I mean, right down. Matriculated, Charlie, as Hank Stram would say.
Down the field.
We're live here at Modesto on the patio, and, hey, why not take advantage of these spring-like temperatures? We got our own groundhog down here, okay? No more of that winter stuff. It's pretty for a day, and enough of that. We're honoring the second week of Restaurant Week. That's right, through February 8th. So it's the 5th today. So to today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, through Saturday, rather. So the second week of Restaurant Week, new chef's tacos of the pork belly escabeche and fried oyster taco. The Valentine's Day special, 2 for $40. That's right, for 2. Table for 2, dinner for 2. We got a special prefix menu for you for just $40. Super Bowl catering, 15% off. You got your watch party? Everybody does. Not everybody can go to the game. Got a watch party? Do your catering over here from Modesto. The taco bar is great. The expanded nachos, things like that. 15% off if you tell them you heard it right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Be on the lookout for our baseball game day specials. And, of course, anytime anybody participates, the men's basketball team, the women's basketball team, the gymnastics, we do honor game day specials over here at Modesto. We always have a great crowd, and take advantage of the patio dining before, during, or after all the PMAC. And right around the corner, it is baseball and softball. When's opening day?
Week from Friday.
There you go. 14th?
I'm sorry?
14th? Is that?
Yeah, the Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
That's
there
correct.
You go.
Yep. Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
The Thibodeau store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. But if you can't get there personally, we always encourage you to go to ThibodeauStore.com. Cajun Cooking Specialty cookware shipped right to your door on special right now. Milwaukee combination wrench sets. These are the metric wrench sets are available as well. They are on special right now. From Channel Lock, your big portable tool carriers, your heaters, and your shop vacs are all 50% off right now at ThibodeauStore.com. You know, if you're going to do some home improvements, let the experts at the Thibodeau store help you out so that you're not kind of flying blind or waiting on a YouTube video to help you out. Let them walk you through step by step, save you time, save you money. Not wasting money on supplies, and you're not wasting your time either. Their sister property, the Pierre Part store, recently their 113th year anniversary, and they'll ship all your lumber from there too. Online, it's ThibodeauStore.com and 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, the Thibodeau store.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, LouisianaSports.net and 104.5ESPN.com. New Hannycast we put up last night is a preview of LSU's hitters. We'll do the pitchers next week. Dan Canterbury and myself. You get that on the Hannycast at YouTube right now. Please like and subscribe. If you like the ball going through the hoop, you liked last night's college basketball, man. There was some points scored. There was some baskets made. Auburn scored 98 points last night, shot over 50% from the field. Florida scored 86 points, shot 57% from the field. Vanderbilt shot 51% from the field and lost by double digits. Kentucky shot 50% from the field and lost. Ole Miss shot 55% from the field. Iowa shot Purdue shot well over 50% from the floor. Scored 90 last night. You get the idea. And with all of that, the best two games of the night were probably St. John's and Marquette, which was a really hard-fought game in the Garden that the Johnnies won. And
Great game.
And UCLA and Michigan State late out at Pauley, and UCLA won that one by a buck. It was cool to see Magic and Kareem at the game. Their alma mater squaring off in a conference game. Still got to remind myself of that. Jimmy, we had some historic stuff last night. We liked the Johnnies. I liked Kentucky last night. I don't know if you did.
I liked Ole Miss.
They got buried last night in the first half.
I didn't put them out, but I liked Ole Miss.
And liked Florida. Depending on what time you got that line, we got it at 10.5. But
it went to 12 because they scratched a starter for Florida who turned his ankle up in Knoxville Saturday.
The cover went down all the way to the end. Florida actually trailed that game at the half. So there was plenty to chew on from last night.
St. John's, I mean, this is the number 1 and number 3 points allowed teams in the Big East. St. John's is D'ing you up as good as anybody. I mean, they were like 10 of 24 from the line at one point, including missing 2 front ends of 1-and-1s from the line in the second half. They were miserable. They did start hitting their free throws. But the kid, the local kid from New York City, 6'6", they list him at 205. He is bigger than that. And he's a big guy, Kadari Richardson, and he looks like he should be playing power forward for him when you look at when they come out for the tip. But he's at point guard. And he's sharing the ball, and he's the one guy that gives them a chance because they can really go. St. John's and Tennessee are so identical. And they go through these scoring droughts, but they'll D the hell out of you. And can Patino continue to improve them? But he's the one guy that can he shares the ball well, but he can create. Sometimes he's off, sometimes he's on. But he's the one guy that can create for himself in, that swing game. If they're going to beat somebody of circumstance in the tournament, he's going to have a good game. I thought he played pretty well last night, and they win going away. But gosh, they D you up. And look, how about when teams just give up buckets at the end when they're protecting a lead? No, they're batting 3-point attempts, and it was him. He batted the 3-point attempt from the right corner out of bounds, and the crowd just feeds off of it. What an atmosphere! What an atmosphere at the Garden last night for that one. So they 6 seed right now. I wouldn't want them in mine if I'm a 3 seed in my bracket. I could tell you that. Can they finish?
They're that far down, really?
That's where they're projected at this point. Charlie, this is a step up in class. A lot of people think that they have feasted on the soft part of the Big East schedule. But they're stepping up, and this is a big week for them, Marquette and UConn, and they took care of business in the first one. I did release them last night. They took care of business, but their lack of free throw shooting. But you gotta admire the toughness. And listen, Providence is as bad as it gets in the Big East this year. And they had a 22 point and held on to win by 2 Saturday, maybe peeking ahead a little bit. So they can look really ugly sometimes. But, man, they're going to bring it to D. If they can continue to get any type of flow offensively, they'll be fine.
It's been a long time since they've been relevant. And you and I remember when we were watching college basketball when it hit its stride in the 80s. The Johnnies were one of the premier teams. Carnesecca was one of the premier coaches. Quick trivia question, Jimmy. When's the last time St. John's won a tournament game? How many years? I had to look it up.
That would be Mike Jarvis?
Yep. How many years?
That would be around late 80s, early 90s?
It was 1999-2000 season, so 25 years since they've won a tournament game. And
same year that LSU, they honored their team for winning the SEC. They went to the Sweet 16.
That's right. And the reason I looked it up is they've won 9 in a row now. And they put the graphic up last night. They haven't won 9 in a row since Carnesecca's prime in the mid-'80s. So when they're good and the Garden's popping, they're significant.
They're great.
Been a while.
Patino, got in a little trouble? Doing just fine. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Go to Chris Beard. Got in a little trouble? Doing just fine.
Yeah, Ole Miss and Kentucky. I mentioned that Kentucky hit over 50% of their shots, and they shot the ball well from three-point range. They shot 48% from three-point range. When we were talking pre-show, I said 10 of 21 for another team. It was 10 of 21 for Kentucky for three-point range, and got blown out. Got blown out with shooting that percentage last night because Ole Miss did not turn the ball over.
Honeymoon's over for your boy Pope.
He's not as good a fit as he was 3 weeks ago.
Not a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Not last week.
Right.
I mean, 24 assists and 1 rebound. Oh, if Ole Miss would have done that, they'd have beaten Auburn. Well, no, that's not going to happen because there's no comparison. This might be the weakest defensive team. Maybe LSU? Weakest defensive team in the league. This is the most points ever scored by the Rebels against the Kentucky Wildcats. Yeah. Ever. No 4 overtimes, ever 98 points. That's pitiful defense.
Yeah, they gave up 89 to a Arkansas team. They gave up 101 in a win against 100 against Florida.
Gave up 100 twice.
Yeah, they gave up 90 in a win against Mississippi State. They gave up 102 to Alabama. They gave up 81 to Texas A&M. No, they gave up 82 to Georgia on the road. No, this is not. This is a very, very poor defensive team.
They got to get their point guard back. And Jackson and Lamont Butler. And, okay, he leads them in assists. Well, they miss him on the offensive end. Okay, that's fine. But he is a fifth-year player. You know where he played the first 4 years?
I don't.
San Diego State. Do they play a little defense?
Yes.
Including that finalist 2 years ago?
Dutchers, yeah.
They miss him
absolutely.
Defending the ball as well. That's not happening with Lamont Butler in the game. It's just not. 24 assists and 1 rebound?
To one turnover.
I'm sorry, 24 assists, 1 turnover. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Huh?
That hasn't been done in 25 years in the league. One turnover in a conference game hasn't been done in 25 years in the league.
In the game 25 years ago, they have 24 assists?
I doubt it.
I doubt it. This one of those, no hyperbole here, bro. Tell me another time when you got a 24 to 1 assist to turnover. That's at a conference game. This isn't like some Prairie View or something. I mean, come on.
Ole Miss had the Auburn, Kentucky back-to-back. They were competitive against Auburn. I didn't ever think that they were going to win that game, but
Kentucky's not in Auburn's league.
They're not. Auburn.
Nobody's in Auburn's league.
Alabama?
Alabama's got a chance, but they don't defend like Auburn does. They don't defend.
Yeah.
No, they don't. I mean, no, they can play with them. They will play with them, but they don't. This Auburn team can beat you every way imaginable. So, and Johni Broome, I mean, he'll rip you behind. He does the coach's work for him. I mean, man, he could be tough on us. Well, yeah, he's demanding. If you're playing soft or dumb, he is going to wear you out. Huh? I mean, the coaches love guys that do the dirty work for them.
We agree.
In today's era?
Yes, absolutely. We agree that this is the toughest the Southeastern Conference has ever been, by far the toughest conference. They just made the turn undefeated. They've won. They have won road games. They have won high-scoring games. They have won games in the 50s. They won 53-51 against Tennessee. They've won without their best player. Their only loss was to Duke, who is fantastic on the road, a true road game. They went to Duke. They're the favorites to win the national title, in my opinion. I don't know if the odds.
They are.
And should be.
No, they are.
You've got an experienced coach.
And Duke
you
is
got
second.
everything you want there.
And Duke is second. Do you get more worn down or more battle-tested? Because there's no comparison, the path of the SEC. What about that SEC tournament? Do you really want to play 4 or 5 games there? Huh? Before the NCAA tournament? Do you really?
No, you don't.
No.
But you don't want to lose either.
Here's some other notes last night, Charlie. Looking ahead, Clemson's 10-1 in the league. This is the second year in a row they lost at home to Georgia Tech in overtime. They lost in triple overtime last night. Peeking ahead again. USC followed up that Michigan State win at home, went to Northwestern. Northwestern lost their second leading scorer for the year. Not only is their second leading scorer, leads them in rebounds, leads them in assists, leads them in steals. That line went from 1.5 to 4. They fell 2 last night. USC was getting out rebounded 16-2 at one point. Those, by the way, shots. Xavier up 8. The line's 8. Georgetown hits a 3. Late and doesn't foul with 5 seconds to go, and that one falls 5. And I got to tell you, that's a respect. Oh, by the way, yeah, Florida fell right by the number. If you got it early, you laid a bigger number because the starter wasn't scratched yet. I forget his Clayton, I think his name is, for Florida. They scratch him. It goes down to 9.5 or 10.5. It falls on 11. Vandy responded from the 42-point swing. 43-point swing. They were up 13 in Norman, lost by 30. They played well. They played smart, and Florida still beat them by double digits. I like this Vanderbilt coach. They're well coached.
No, they've done a good job.
Yeah.
Hey, we got Wes Reynolds on today, right?
Yes.
Indiana, first TV timeout, down 15. Second TV timeout, down 20. The final didn't look that bad, but boy, that was
right
a blowout.
after one of the best efforts in Mackey.
Yeah.
They were leading for most of the game against Purdue.
And Mike Woodson said, "We're not tough." No kidding.
Did I tell you it's open air today?
Yeah. Hey.
Get a muffler, baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's indeed over here. And don't forget our friends at Legacy Title, Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all your real estate closings. 296-0060, full-service title company, servicing all of South Louisiana. Our great team at Legacy Title, Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Super Bowl 59. My buddy, Mr. Randy McKay, joins us right now, the country's most respected NFL handicapper, with some props, some sides, some angles, some thoughts. How you doing, big dog?
I'm doing real well here. In the sunshine here in Vegas. A couple trips down to Arizona since I've been here. So been traveling around, scouring for some good bets for the Super Bowl, and got a few.
Tell me what your thoughts on the line movement at this point. So it opened up 1.5. It moved to 2 at a little spot, but steady Philadelphia action. A lot of split money, too, from a lot of shops. But it's down to 1, and I think it was our buddy, from the Westgate Superbook? They anticipate that this thing will move to pick'em. So Eagles action.
Yeah, and then anybody with the if you want to bet at the Superbook, if you're in Vegas too, they're going to go down to minus 105, and I believe South Point does that too. So there's
South Point and the Rampart, yeah, they do 105 juice in person betting, for the Super Bowl every year. Yeah,
and same with Superbook. So if you like a particular side, you like that. as a guy that kind of leans KC, I'm gonna sit back and wait right now, and wait for probably a little better before I play it. The big edge, I think, is in this total. I'm surprised it's sitting at 48.5. In fact, I added more to it now. You go back to 2 years ago, of course, we didn't know it was going to be that slick field in Arizona, 38-35 finish. I could see, some more fireworks than people expected in this game, too, being down there in New Orleans, another fast track. And so that's one I've jumped on as far as a side and total perspective.
So you got KC in the over.
Well, I lean KC. I haven't bet that in pocket yet, but I do lean. If you want to get on the over, there's some good numbers on 48.5, and pretty much every book, and there's some reduced 48.5, and get on that. I really think this game. I don't bet many overs, and I think this game still is going to live up to the fireworks that I think we're going to see.
A rare over from you. There's no doubt about that. And thinking. Maybe a little bit. A lot of times, sharp action comes in on the under. The conference championship games both sailed over; they weren't even close. And so that the Super Bowl is an over. They bet the over to begin with, but this, after so many people bet and cashed in on those over tickets easily, they're going to come back with them. A couple of other things, too. Look, Mahomes and Andy Reid, they kind of pick their spots. Their play design to Mahomes' level of play and his focus, and the offense's focus, in the postseason. It's different, okay? They played the Buffalo Bills. They fear their offense, do they not? Okay, they scored 30 points for the first time this year. I don't think it's just coincidence that they they turned it up a notch, anticipating that they need. I think the same thing here with Philadelphia. And the other thing, Randy, is do you anticipate some tempo, some no huddle by both of these teams? Because that's a way to kind of get some of the nerves out as well, to try and, go tempo, more reactive, more playing and less thinking type of stuff, or especially for the Eagles.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I don't think they'll be draining down the play clock, a la some of these under teams that snap the ball with 5 minutes or 5 seconds and get close to delay games all the time. This is going to be more snap the ball with 20-15 on the play clock at the lowest. So I think we're going to get more plays, which will lead to more action, and this should be a exciting, very exciting matchup. I know people are tired of having KC in there, but you just got to do which the cards you're dealt with is better. Whoever's playing, you got to try to look for the edges.
I'm on the same page with you, but back to to wrap up on the over. 48.5 and maybe a little light juice. It's only going to go up because of the the things that I pointed out with so many people cashing tickets to the conference championship games. So will it hit that magic number of 50? Maybe not, huh?
Yeah, this will be the majority of the betting is going to start coming in now after Thursday till Sunday kickoff. So there's going to be some line movement here. I don't think it's going to stay at this number here, 1 and 48.5. It's going to probably go down to pick and maybe 50 or something right around that, I figure.
Right now you can get plus 108 at over 50 if you're anticipating a line move.
Oh, okay. I'd rather take 48.5 than to go over 50 plus money, huh, Randy?
Yeah, or if you can get 49 plus money, that wouldn't be such a bad bet. But
minus 104.
You're giving up
minus 104 is 49.
Yeah,
you're giving up a pretty key number there if you go to 50. So it could, I never know, it could fall 49.
I gotcha. Hey, so yeah, and you're talking about our friends in Las Vegas. Now, maybe not so much I don't know what it is for the mobile books. This will be an answer for Troy to see on Friday at Bet Rivers. But, the in-person books in Las Vegas where people are coming in from out of town, 90% of the bets will be from Friday to Sunday. So as they're flying in, a lot of people flying in Friday, maybe leaving Monday. So 90% of the action. So as much action as they've taken, some big bets, it's still got a lot to go. All right, what about some of the props, the menu that you're looking at?
So I'll give out the ones I found at Superbook, and we can talk about a few others too if we got time here. But the ones I bet last Thursday at the Westgate, the first one was Mahomes over 28.5 rush yards. Basically taking a low number there and thinking it's going to close a little higher, which right now I've been reported that it's 31.5, 32, which I anticipated correctly. And, they use his legs more in big games. We all know that. And then hopefully you don't get burnt by the, if they're winning the late kneel downs. So I think he gets there. We saw him do even the design runs against the Bills. So like that one to start out.
Do you anticipate the Eagles, Daniels is more of a running threat, but they spied him. You think at maybe some spots that the Eagles may spy Mahomes on maybe some third downs?
Yeah, I don't know if they can really afford to do that. We'll see if that happens, but, the Chiefs got a lot of weapons there. If they, and he's better at reading probably than Daniels was as a rookie. So if he reads that, he's gonna pick him off of wide receivers. So we'll see what happens there.
All right, next one.
I got over 7.5 solo tackles and assists by Nick Bolton. Tackling machine. Going to get a lot of action here. Middle linebacker here for Kansas City. With the Philly rush attack, he's going to be tackling Barkley. He's going to be tackling Hurts and whoever comes else in to run the ball. So, he went over. He had 9 tackles, and last time they met 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, including a touchdown that probably turned that game around for Kansas City when they were down 14-7 second quarter. He got a fumble and a recovery for a touchdown there. Probably turned around that game. I don't think KC wins if he doesn't get that. Could have been the MVP in that game, but wasn't. But thought this was a lower number. I thought it would be 8.5, so I got over 7.5 here with tackling machine Nick Bolton.
Okay, next.
Under 6.5 rush yards for the rookie-worthy wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. Here, they've done some design runs, but I feel like Spagnuolo will be keen to that. They might not even do this play. If they don't do it, you still win. So I don't like if he does have a run, hopefully it's under 6.5. So I got a little bigger number than out there in the market, so I like that one.
All right. How many more you got?
One more at Westgate. Okay. Actually, 2 more at Westgate. Under 40.5 rush yards for Jalen Hurts. Okay. People see Hurts being a running type quarterback mostly, but on the other side, you talked about spies. I figure Spagnuolo have some, and I trust Spagnuolo more than I do Fangio in the matchup here. That's why I like Kansas City. But I feel like Spagnuolo ain't going to let Hurts beat him with his legs. He's going to have him beat him through the air. So, be a little bit more limited here for Hurts, who's been a little banged up and a little hesitant to run at times too lately. So, got a pretty good number there, under 40.5, Jalen Hurts.
All right. Tell me about this. I think that Spagnuolo is going to bring the pressure, and it's, especially, as they get closer and things like that. I've got the and when he brings it, Hurts loves to throw up those jump balls for A.J. Brown. Washington brought pressure on probably the most important play of the game, 4th and 4 or so near midfield, and A.J. Brown easily beat Lattimore and actually had to wait on the ball a little bit, but Hurts gave himself a little room for error with that throw. It was a good throw. But the longest reception of the game, I think A.J. Brown is at plus 300. I'm taking that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a pretty good angle. I think he'll be focused on a lot by the Eagles to use, and Chiefs have pretty good cornerbacks, but I don't think you'll have McDuffie on them as much. I think McDuffie will be covering probably the other wide receivers, either Smith or one of the other wide receiver more. He usually is not on a primary guy, so he might be able to get some opportunity there. I've heard other people like A.J. Brown as well.
All right, one more throw at you for your opinion. Worthy got over the receiving yardage in the conference championship game. Buffalo Bills lost a cornerback mid-game. When he got hurt, Worthy had 1 yard receiving, and they really went to him after. This reverses a trend. They've been really, especially a lot of lateral stuff with him. They've been trying to do more creative running stuff to get the ball in his hands, but I just see a real tough problem, especially against his secondary. And they got some guys with the Eagles. I like Worthy under receiving yards. Randy, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's also a pretty good angle to do Worthy. I don't see a big game. I see maybe a little bit more of a game out of Hopkins and Smith-Schuster as far as Casey, and then I would look at taking Goddard versus Kelsey in head-to-head matchups. And the number's kind of gone. I gave Goddard last week, but that number's kind of gone on him on the over. So look at taking Goddard versus Kelsey in head-to-head matchups.
Oh, Goddard versus Kelsey? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they going to defend Kelsey? I mean, he doesn't look like he's got a whole lot of separation skills at this stage of his career, but sometimes he's uncovered.
Yeah, it's strange some of these game plans that these coaches use, but I don't know how much. He wasn't used much against the Bills, and maybe big game, maybe they'll use him a little bit more. You never know, but he stepped up before.
He can still find his spots. He can't run as well as he used to. He still be able to find spots.
No, whenever it breaks off script,
yeah.
And I mean, Mahomes is looking for him every time. I mean, they are symbiotic when it comes to that. I mean, he's real good off script to finding that the open space. He gets in position to win. One more quick one, Randy. Is it just as simple where the Eagles are better everywhere, minus quarterback and coach?
The position-wise, probably, their offensive line needs to dominate if they're going to win this game. So we'll see if they're all right at center there with either Dickerson or Jurgens. That paid.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a factor against Washington. But another prop that I didn't get into. We haven't talked about Barkley yet.
Go ahead, real quick. We about 30 seconds.
Yeah, the best angle that we took on that was under 25.5 longest rush. We don't think he's going to have a big rush against KC, but he's going to get a lot of usage. So scary, but under 25.5 against Barkley.
Hey, you got a little bit of break between around the same time on Sunday. We can get you last few props on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you guys can call. I'll be at Derek's party, but we should be able to get a.
Well, like you said, you hear that,
Derek.
Derek.
First name basis,
yeah. Derek is Donald going to be with Derek?
Yeah, Derek and Donald and Elon. Yeah. Cool Kids Club.
I don't know if they're going to be there, but I'm going to be there.
Derek, Donald, Dana, Elon, and Big Dog. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Go ahead, man. He's an A-lister in our book. Randy, thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you on Sunday.
All right, thanks, guys. Good luck, everybody out there.
United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations for Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of southern Louisiana for over 50 years. Our great team, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, David Henry, Prentice Wilkes. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You know what else we're getting down at the Super Bowl is a lot of people talking about their futures. Andy Reid says he's going to coach next year. Lane Johnson says he's going to play next year. And Darius Slay, the corner for the Eagles, just said, I'm going to play next year, but it's going to be my last year. So I guess Darius Slay said next year will be his final year. A lot of these guys, say, hey, look, got my ring. If I get my ring, I'm gone. Some of them say, well, I'm going to come back regardless, one way or the other. But you get a lot of that down this week of the Super Bowl. Reed being the most significant one, that he'll come back for one more year. We're coming back for one more hour, and we're going to New Orleans when we return at the top of the hour, live from Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We are enjoying the very nice weather out here on the patio at Modesto. Come on by on game day for all you game day specials. Doesn't matter what game. If there's game over at LSU.
Men's hoops, women's hoops, gymnastics, baseball, softball, whatever it is this spring. We've got we honor the game day specials over here at Walk-Ons. We're right next to the original Walk-Ons here at Modesto, and out on the patio, man. We're also honoring over here at Modesto the second week of Restaurant Week. That's through today through Saturday. So, and how about our new Chef's Tacos? Boy, I love these. Pork belly escabeche and the fried oyster taco. So there you go, a little pork belly or a fried oyster taco. They're really good, man. You could kind of create, mix and match your different tacos, different toppings, and different specialty tacos that we have, and different tortillas that you want. And so always good. Nick, do real quick, very, very quick. Outstanding bar over here. And the newly expanded Modesto. And we got the kind of a little bit louder dining. You come on the bar side with all the TVs or on the patio and stuff. They want a little bit quieter. You got to go to the left, the new section. So you got the dining options over here. You can go to the patio, you can do the bar area, you can do in the dining area. So the newly expanded Modesto, just in time for spring.
Let's go down to New Orleans, site of the Super Bowl this Sunday. Max, what set the scene for us downtown? I was listening to Matt's show yesterday, and he had Mike Hoss on, the voice of the Saints, and he was offering some advice about trying to get in and out of there, and he said, basically forget Poydras Street. They have really kind of blocked off a lot of that stuff as far as entryways and things like that. So kind of set the stage for us down at Super Bowl 59.
Yeah, New Orleans is definitely getting busier. The excitement is building. I believe the fan experience, which is also here in the convention center, opens up today. I'm not sure. So that's for the fans. It's like a fan experience. You've seen them at like national championships and things like that, but a lot of fan to-dos, things for kids, I believe, as well. So that's picking up. So this whole area is built up on the river. And just walking through town, parking is a little bit harder. Everything's excited, and if you want any restaurants or something, you probably got to go a little bit outside of the normal spots.
If you thought security was tight before, add to that now that the president is expected to attend the Super Bowl on Sunday, so you can just ratchet up the security that much more. Max, you hear from a lot of players, NFL players that aren't in the Super Bowl, going down there. One of the themes seems to be that they are beginning that pushback against any idea of an 18th game. That's one of the things I heard an awful lot yesterday and then again this morning.
Yeah, I haven't chatted with anyone about that just yet, but that does seem to be a popular sentiment. I've heard from a couple of people who have talked to some players today, and they said the same thing. It's been a talking point, so it definitely seems like maybe that was something that the NFLPA put out for the players who were going to be out here, a little bit of organization there, but it's kind of hard to blame them, really. I mean, they ask them to do more and more, and look, I know they get paid a lot of money, but there's the preseason is before long going to be almost not even there, and a lot of these players don't even play. The players that are here are pretty high profile, so they're not even playing all the preseason games. So it is essentially an extra game for them to play. So, that has been a talking point. A lot of former players here as well. You got to be careful. I mean, there's so many people here today, honestly. This is the real first day, I'd say, of all the players and former players joining in. A lot of media heads as well that are making their debut today. And you'll be bumping into somebody much bigger than you by accident. Sean Merriman, Just a whole lot of current and former players, and the McAfee show opened up today from Radio Row, so that's gotten a lot of attention as well.
We know what you're talking about when some of the bigger radio shows get in town. We know you're a McAfee fanboy. It's all about McAfee. We know that.
Well, they're just set up right next to us, so it's hard to miss them, to be honest. I mean, they're going to be the center of attention.
So they have a big old set. Doesn't even look like they're anything close to where the rest of Radio Row is. They're just kind of cut off with their set.
So you have some of like the big sets, the national media areas. They have their own sets sort of surrounding Radio Row. Radio Row's in the middle, and you've got a bunch of them surrounding the whole box.
I got you because they said it overhead shot. 160 stations are represented at Radio Row. It's more of a radio cluster in the convention center, and tons of room. So certainly, what's some of the ones that you've made around, you've noticed that you recognize?
Oh boy, it's amazing. You'll find people that it takes you a second to realize. A lot of media heads that you kind of realize who they are, but you can't quite place them in your head immediately. But NFL Network's got a big group of people that some of them have been in the Superdome. So you'll have some Adam Ranks, Tom Pelissero, Ian Rappaport will be around just randomly. You've got more of the NBC sort of analysts, the color guys. Chris Sims is here. We talked to Matthew Berry yesterday, but Dan Le Batard's show is here. You've got CBS Sports, a lot of guest analysts for them throughout. So we've seen Jameis Winston make some rounds. And we're starting to see actually some draft-eligible players as well. I saw Jalen Milroe.
Milroe's
got
there
a sponsorship.
Today.
So he's certainly trying to push his stuff, push his draft stock as well. I'm sure that'll be a talking point throughout the day. But did run into Jaden Daniels, but he had quite a posse around him. So, a lot of these people are heavily booked for the day. Daniels
is hot. Yeah, Daniels, and we said that earlier, he and Malik Neighbors going through the car wash today or Radio Row. I'm sure they're booked. But, I was listening to Mad Dog earlier today, and they were excited as heck to get Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's as hot as anybody, Charlie.
Yeah, that's not playing in the game. I would say he's the hottest guy out there. I did notice it was interesting. One of Milroe's quotes was that he is going to be really reluctant to play any position other than quarterback. So any ideas about a slash type of deal? Max, this is more a question for the locals that you run into. It seems like a foregone conclusion, and it's only a formality that Kellen Moore will be named head coach of the Saints next week. Any reaction, positive or negative, to Kellen Moore?
Well, we did get to speak to him, quite a bit on Monday. There were some interesting quotes. I know the New Orleans Football article that came out talked quite a bit about what he talked to the local cluster of New Orleans media about. But, yeah, it's a good start. I think he was very coy in all of his statements, so you didn't get a whole lot from him in terms of New Orleans, just kind of some of his basic philosophies. I mean, hell, I asked him about a fourth down sort of discussion, which I'm big in the analytics, so I had to get one of those in. But it's just he seemed pretty free. I thought early on maybe he was a little bit taken aback. He knew the line of questioning was going to be tough, and it was going to be a lot of New Orleans-based questions. But so far, I think the New Orleans media has been pretty friendly to his overall appearance that we saw on Monday, and the reaction since then. Today, just some of the whispers from other people around, asking around, seem to be pretty much locked in that he's going to be the guy. And just a couple of Philly guys I talked to, local Philly guys, very complimentary of him, but they understand that he's going to be likely headed out.
And let me just get out in front of this. Before this game happens, I have no idea how Philadelphia is going to play offensively on Sunday. It won't change my opinion of Kellen Moore at all, because I'd heard somebody say yesterday, well, we're going to watch him, see how he calls it. Personnel he has in Philadelphia does not in any way resemble the personnel he's got in New Orleans. So whether they do really well or really poorly won't affect my opinion of Moore at all. As coach is saying,
it's just hard to. It's sort of an incomplete. I mean, he hasn't been a disaster where he's in a favorable situation. He hasn't been, it hadn't been, a miracle worker where he's had, a tougher situation. So
I'm willing to give him a chance.
He's very inexperienced. I mean, how is he going to be as command a locker room and get professional players to respond? He's never really done that, So, I mean,
we've seen 30-something coaches do that now.
What's the prop on when they do hold the press conference and they do announce him because they are going to ask him, is this your first pick? Can they just do it as a breath of fresh air? No, we went through some guys. We went through, but we settled in on Kellen Moore. That's never going to happen, huh? Minus 480?
You're not going to get them to. No press conference that they were hiring a coach has the organization or the school ever said this wasn't our first choice. And I've never heard a coach say.
I have. I can't remember. There's one that was so obvious that they just said, hey, we think we got, it was.
It would have to be really public.
It'd be like, like the Alabama when Rodriguez left.
Right.
Him
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
or LSU with Pat
before.
Sullivan. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to be outed. You have to have it be public. You'll never admit that otherwise.
Matt, you like Max? Max, you like Kellen Moore?
I think so. I like the idea of him. For what you're going to get, I like him more than Mike McCarthy because to me, this team. It's basically rebuilding, but I'd rather take a shot on somebody being the next Kevin O'Connell, Deshaun McVay. I know it's sort of young white offensive guys thing. Everyone's sort of going after them, and that's been popular right now. But if he busts, who cares? Like maybe you're just tanking at that point. I'd rather take a shot where there's a risk that he goes 3-14 because then you just restart and maybe have another quarterback at that point. Now, I do want to hear what his opinion on Derek Carr is. He was asked about that. Of course, he was complimentary when he could be. But there have been reports that he questions, this quarterback room entirely. So what he ends up doing with Derek Carr would be very important in how I grade him. But I feel comfortable with him. I think Mike McCarthy, what his ceiling is. And even though he's won a Super Bowl, you'd say that's a good ceiling. He hasn't got there in a long time. So I thought he was going to kind of keep the Saints in a middle ground, 8-9, 9-8, exactly where you really don't want to be, where you're not getting a good pick, but you're not contending for Super Bowls.
All right, we didn't have the short price at Pebble Beach with Rory McIlroy last week. Now, you gave me 9 golfers. Can you streamline a little bit of commentary here on maybe why a couple of these?
Yeah, so to be honest, I'm avoiding the top of the board. We saw Scotty Scheffler. He's a massive favorite at like plus 275. And then there's a significant drop-off in the odds. We saw some early odds come out on this tournament, especially on DraftKings over at the Queen. You saw Justin Thomas at like 25-1. Now he's down to 12-1 the week of with some of the withdrawals. Rory McIlroy not playing, Xander Schauffele not playing. So that changes some things, and I think I'm just going to avoid the top of the board altogether. Maverick McNeely 60-1, coming off a home event at Pebble Beach. A lot of talk about that. He played pretty well, but just didn't putt very well. So maybe now that the pressure's off of him, playing at his home event, maybe he'll pick it back up. He won in the fall, so at least he's got that monkey off his back. Siwoo Kim, Minwoo Lee, I'm going to be like Ric Flair. I'm yelling woo all weekend. Just good fits to me. Minwoo Lee, by the way, long driver, which I think is important in the desert. You also have to avoid the left side of a lot of these holes. There's a lot of water on the left of TPC Scottsdale, and that's something that I will say. If you're fading Scotty Scheffler, which, look, he's going to be in some parlays with the Chiefs probably. I could see that being a case on Sunday, but he did miss a lot left with his driver last week, and that is something that will get you in a lot of trouble at Scottsdale. So avoiding players like that. Minwoo is a great driver, but approach play is typically a real weakness for him. That's important this week, and he's been playing pretty well there, both on the European Tour and I think he has one stop on the PGA Tour so far this season, but his approach play is much better than it normally is. And then I've got Sam Stevens at 9-1, Charlie Hoffman 110-1. He's 48 years old, but always plays desert golf well. Finished runner-up to Nick Taylor in a playoff last year. Look, like I said, I never played Charlie Hoffman. I never thought I would, but But when I really looked at it this week, he's playing really well, and the putter is kind of what's letting him down. But he's always played well here. He's got 2 runners-up here overall, but he's played well in desert golf. And desert golf is just different than a lot of these normal stops that they play on the PGA Tour. The American Express being one of them. There are a couple stops in the desert, but he always plays well there. So I'm looking for players like him. And Siwoo Kim, another one that I mentioned earlier, he's also got a win at the American Express in the desert. So McNeely at 60-1, Siwoo Kim 60-1, Minwoo Lee 75, Sam Stevens at 90-1 has been playing very good golf, and Charlie Hoffman, a bit of a bomb, long shot at 110-1. Just going to avoid the top of the board this week.
All right. So when I'm asked what was Max's breakdown on the waste management, said I got a lot of water in the desert. There we go. Good job, Max. All right, babe.
Exactly. It's a mirage.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you, Max.
See ya.
Don't forget, hey, great weather right now. Now is the time to get that AC checked, get that service checked, get it cleaned, get it checked, so maybe some parts that might be wearing out, because it's right around the corner. We're going to really lean on them pretty good. And that's when you might have a more costly repair. You're going to have, it's going to wear it. You don't clean it. It's not going to run its tip-top efficiency. Well, it's going to cost you more with your monthly bills as well. And then you also jeopardizing whether you got to replace that thing if you got a part that could easily be identified right now. Now is the time before we really stress our AC units to get that service check. And what about it? We love money. Lock it a week. Normally $179, save $100, just $79. Total maintenance, 480-1000. The Jimmy Ott, Charles Hanegraaff, the Live at Lunch, AC check, $79, normally $179. Call 480-1000, 480-1000. Total maintenance. My buddy Lucas Ragusa, one of the South Louisiana's oldest and largest air conditioning and heating companies since 1980. Again, right now, that AC check, that AC service in cleaning, just $79, normally $179. You mention our name. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
Live at Modesto. Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
All right, Wes, Waste Management Weekend in the Phoenix area, Scottsdale area, and Max was just on us telling us about how much water they have in the desert when it comes to this course. But anyway, what are we looking at this week? Minus Scotty Scheffler at a big chalk price atop the leaderboard, the odds board.
Yeah, look, it hasn't rained. I think it rained like the last week of January, and didn't rain from like mid-August to about very late January. So this is going to be pretty firm and pretty fast with this course. You're going to see a lot of, it's driver heavy, by the way. So you're going to be taking the big dog off the tee, and got to be careful with the way these fairways are going to roll, that they don't roll through into the short grass or into potential hazards. So got to exercise a little bit of caution. But yeah, you're right, Jimmy. Scotty Scheffler, the big chalk here, has won 2 of the last 3 years, and he's less than 3-1. So I'm not going to take him to win. If you want to bet the without Scheffler market, I certainly could understand. He's number one in everybody's model, and if he's not, you're doing it wrong. But I'm going to take him on with a couple of his good buddies, actually, and one of them you guys are very familiar with down in Baton Rouge, and that's Sam Burns, who I played at 28-1, and Sam Burns has played pretty well here. He's third here last year, sixth here 2 years ago. Putted poorly at Pebble on Sunday, but I think he'll like these greens better, even though they're not Bermuda. What do we call good, especially in the state of Florida? But he can attack with the driver, and led the field here last year for strokes gained off the tee. So Sam Burns, 28-1. And then another good buddy of Scotty Scheffler. How about Tom Kim? Watching the Sunday coverage at Pebble, made a mess of that final hole where he was T3, hit it in the water, and then finished T7. But returned to that blade putter, and it really paid dividends because he was very good putting last week. He's won 2 of his 3 events, by the way. His PGA Tour wins, I should say, were at TPC Summerlin in Las Vegas. So a similar course, very familiar with desert conditions. I think he'll like the raucous crowd, too. I think he'll like, the energy and how loud it gets with the spectators there at the People's Open. So he's going to relish that. Tom Kim, 1. Sahith Theegala, 45-1. Not very good form to start the season. He hasn't finished better than 36 in any of the 4 events. But remember, he probably should have won here in 2022, which ended up being Scotty Scheffler's first PGA Tour win in the playoff over Patrick Cantlay. Finished third in 2022 and fifth in 2024. So I think maybe this could be a get-right spot for Tagala. And then Mav McNeely, 65-1. He fixed it last year in Phoenix. Only finished 40th at Pebble Beach because he was really bad on and around the greens, which he's usually not. But I think that he's going to be a lot better on these greens. He actually was fourth in last week's field for strokes gained ball striking. So that tells you he's hitting the ball well. Just got to roll the ball a little bit better. And these are pretty straightforward greens, so I think he will be able to do the same. Kurt Kitayama, 70-1. Another guy who finished pretty well here last year. 8th, 6th in the field off the tee. 10th last season for strokes gained approach. Not a great putter, but this is kind of like Team No Putt this week because these greens run pretty through, and there's not a lot of tricks, not a lot of undulations in these greens. So I think he can putt well. UNLV golf were really good at desert golf, and then two more. Billy Horschel, 70-1. Very good event last week at Pebble Beach. Ended up P9, second low round in Sunday's final round. And Minwoo Lee, 75-1, another guy that I think can really attack off the tee. He was 8th in approach last week at Pebble. Just struggled to find the fairway with the driver, but the driver is usually the best club in Minwoo's bag. He was 5th for strokes gained off the tee on the PGA Tour last season.
All right, got a bunch of them right there. And Sam Burns, 28-1. So yeah, finishing tied for third and tied for sixth of the last 2 years. What you think, Charlie? He's been kind of flattened out a little bit.
I guess. I mean, I don't follow it as closely as Wes does, so I defer to him on a lot of it and Max on a lot of this stuff.
What's your thoughts on Burns' career path right now?
Yeah, look, I think he's on a decent path. He struggles. You want to see him get to the level where he's contending in major championships, but he's a good player. He's a quality player. He's won a few times already on tour, so I think he's on a decent path. It's just you kind of need that breakthrough, I think, to in like a major and like a Players Championship or something like that to say, hey, this guy's really arrived and this guy's a top 10, 15 guy in the world. But he's got 5 wins in about the last 3 years, so I think he's doing just fine.
All right, the Kansas City Chiefs, 1.5, and we've seen it won some places in 48.5. The side total, the props. Who are you on in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm on the Eagles, and look, there's a lot of years in the Super Bowl I don't bet the side because I think the line, and this is kind of the same this year. I think the line is right. I don't think you're going to get any value necessarily in the line, so it's like, who do you think is going to win the game? And I think it's the Philadelphia Eagles because almost any time, I have an underdog getting points that's got the better defense and the better running game. And I think that's the case here with Philadelphia, and the numbers bear that out. So I like the Eagles here. I know it's so hard to go against Mahomes when he's a short favorite, and we saw that last week in the AFC Championship game against Buffalo, but I like the Eagles. I think that they can control the clock here, actually, and keep that Chiefs offense off the field because nobody bleeds clock better than the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they were number 1 in time of possession, and while that may be an outdated stat, you still got to run the ball, I think, to be somewhat successful in the National Football 25, and I think that the Eagles can do just that.
Any props that you're on, Wes, or that you're looking at?
Yeah, I played the Dallas Goddard overs, and I know that those are getting popular, the over receptions and the over yards. The yards are at around like 50 and change, and the receptions were at 4.5. But the Chiefs give up the most yards to tight ends all year long. You could just go game by game and go through the numbers, and that's a little bit by design based on the scheme that they run because they're a little bit blitz heavy, so they'll leave that middle of the field open, and that's where I think Dallas Goddard can capitalize. Now, because he's shattered these props a couple times in the playoffs, they're paying a little bit more of a tax, and that always concerns me a little bit. But I just think from the matchup and the schematic standpoint, Dallas Goddard should have a pretty good game here. I also played Patrick Mahomes, and it may have dropped a little bit. I played under 36.5 pass attempts because I think you're going to see times where he keeps plays alive with his legs. And you've seen it already in the first 2 playoff games where he's not just going to be like, oh, I'm in trouble, I'm going to chuck it away. No, he's still going to try to pick up those 4- and 5-yard gains with his legs and get to the sideline and inevitably get some kind of late hit call because he seems to get those a lot. Playoffs. Not saying there's any conspiracy there. It's just some get the calls more than others. But I played that under, and then I'm waiting on a couple of these props, Jimmy, because it's kind of just, I guess, a general principle where if you like overs with certain player props, bet them early. If you like the unders, wait till about Saturday or game day and then come in, like something like Saquon Barkley rushing yards, which are obviously going to be popular and priced to the moon. That is one you may want to wait for, and there's several others, I think, that are just like that.
Same concept as chalk early, dogs late. Yes, indeed. Especially with so much recreational money being bet through the window. I mean, people aren't going there. Yeah, I want to go up. Give me the shoot. I'm sorry, the dribble, miss. Parlay. They just don't do that. People, especially the recreation, they want to bet what they want to cheer for. I mean, it's just that simple. I tell you what, it was a little bit of local action in the desert for LSU against USC, in that game. Don't you think?
More than somewhat. Hey, Wes, if you think that Mahomes may catch a call here and there, a friend of mine sent me an interesting prop. I don't even know where he got it from, but it sounds right. A roughing the passer penalty on Philadelphia plus 170. You into conspiracy theories?
I heard that. I didn't hear that price. I heard it was much lower than that. But
I was looking for where he got it from. I got to ask him. But let's just say a roughing the passer penalty on Philadelphia.
Yeah, look, it certainly makes sense, I think. I don't know. I would need, I think, a little bit higher. I know in the past, because I've played those, and sometimes I've won, sometimes I've lost. I've played those in the past, and those have been in, like, the 250 range, in the plus 250. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense, but I think in terms of the number, maybe it's gotten away from you a little bit.
No, what I saw, Charlie, was minus 130, minus 140. The first team to have a roughing the passer penalty
would be Philadelphia.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They bet that.
Probably multiple ways you can bet.
Now, what I'm looking for is the first personal foul of the game will be Gardner Johnson. So, we're well aware of him, because he is a knucklehead. Wes, college basketball tonight. Who you on?
Yeah, I'm going to play Oregon against Michigan, plus 8.5. Oregon, look, they kind of struggled lately. They've, fallen back to earth. They got off to a really good start in conference play, and then, just haven't gotten it. They've lost 4 of the last 5. They just lost to Nebraska at home, by the way, on Sunday. Now they go to Michigan, and we know Michigan, at least one of the top 4 teams in the Big, and now they've gotten right after that big loss at Purdue. They've won 2 in a row. Michigan does have Indiana on Saturday. Down in Bloomington, we're in Assembly Hall. We're probably going to hear some of the Dusty May chants, and being nice, not being derisive of Dusty May, because a lot of those fans, I think, see the former Hoosier as their basketball coach after what we saw with Indiana last night against Wisconsin. So I thought 8.5 was a little bit high for Michigan to be laying here, so I'm on the Ducks.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a nail biter for Nebraska, that Sunday evening game at Eugene against Oregon, and then they were non-competitive down at Pauley against UCLA the time before that. So they need an inspired performance. There's no question about that. Follow Wes on Twitter at Wes Reynolds 1. Wes, good luck, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
You bet, guys. Thanks for having me.
Our Consensus Golf Reports brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. When we come back, we got some. Charlie, we got 4 of them from our contributors that are common picks this week.
Avoid the water in the desert when we return at Modesto live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our Wednesday Consensus Golf Picks are brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
Back here at Modesto, time for our Consensus Golf Picks. Jimmy, who we got?
All right, both.
Who will best avoid the water in the desert?
Yes, Sam Burns, and 25-1 is available right now at the Queen and the DraftKings outlet. So Sam Burns is a common pick, 1 of 4. Maverick McNeely, which you can also get at 55-1 at the Queen, the DraftKings outlet. Billy Horschel, the Florida Gator, Best number there is at the Queen at the DraftKings outlet, 55-1. And then the Beau Rivage at BetMGM has a slightly better price, 66-1 to DraftKings, 65-1 on Min Woo Lee. So Sam Burns at 25-1, Maverick McNeely at 55-1, Billy Horschel also at 55-1, and Min Woo Lee at 66-1 are our consensus picks. So you may have heard Wes, in addition to the so he's got 2 hooked up with one of our contributors and 2 hooked up with Max. So his others that he gave out were Tom Kim, Thigala. Kim is around 28-30-1. Thigala is around 40, 45, 50-1. And Kirk Kitayama. Kirk Kitayama is at around 60-1. So other names that were mentioned: Hideki Matsuyama, Nick Taylor, Novak, Berger, Knapp, Siwoo Kim. You heard Max Siwoo Kim, Sam Stevens, Charlie Hoffman, Gary Woodland, Doug Gim, Alex Smaller. Is that right? Smalley? And Eric Van Ruyen. So, again, here's a consensus picks brought to you by Dana Brown at the law office of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com. Never a charge for that initial consultation. We're not trained attorneys. We don't know if we're entitled to something. We don't know if our rights are being infringed upon. We don't know if we don't have a case at all. That's why you take advantage of that free initial consultation. Call 343-1111 or ocbrown.com, and we'll set you up with our specialized member of our team of attorneys.
Brian Kelly spoke to the media about 40 minutes ago. He addressed the Good Morning America interview with Greg Brooks Sr. and Greg Brooks Jr. that they did with Michael Strahan. Scott Rabelais was there for that, and we will have the update on what Brian Kelly had to say in response to that interview. That's when we return here live at Modesto.
One angle real quick, Charlie. Yeah. Here's one for you. We're talking about handicapping the Super Bowl, too. The team, the last 10 games, a team that has a bye versus a team that didn't. So you think there was a higher seeded team. 0-9-1. I'm sorry, 0-10. 1-9 straight up. 0-10 against the spread.
The team that had the bye. Huh. Rust versus rust? Oh, we still.
Usually we're doing that the first week.
Yeah,
the divisional
round. You wouldn't
round.
think that hangover. I mean, they all get 2 weeks off before this game.
Right. So. Could be totally coincidental. I don't know. They're looking for a lot of angles that caught my attention.
0-9-1, 0-10. That's
the team, and that would be, if the trend continues, the Eagles would be the pick. So
live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Today's show also brought to you in part by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners for any situation, but especially for retirement when they've got to work with you. If you've got a business partner, they'll work with them. Your lawyers, your tax professionals. Make sure all of your goals are achieved. Doesn't matter what your age. It doesn't matter what your financial situation is. They can help you out. Coastal Capital Advisors work for you. They work for me. For more information, get Philip Fontenot and his great staff on the phone, 337-981-1376, or online at coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Edge Advisors, doing business as Coastal Capital Advisors. Securities offered through New Age Securities, member FINRA SIPC. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate. Scott, we moved your time a little bit so that you could get to the Brian Kelly press conference. The first thing he opened up with today was a response to the Good Morning America interview with Greg Brooks Sr. and Jr. If you watched it, Michael Strahan did it. It was an emotional interview in which the Brooks family made it clear that Brian Kelly and LSU had not reached out to them. Brian Kelly had a rebuttal to that today to open that press conference.
Yes, it was. It was somewhat surprising and long ranging. I could hit the highlights of what he said, or just kind of summarize it. But he said he started very early by saying he was factually incorrect to say that he was not there by Greg's side during the ordeal. He was there multiple occasions, and someone on his staff was there just about every day. But he said it was important to set the record straight. He said, you can question me as a football coach and in terms of things we do on the field, but off the field as a parent, husband, someone who's actively involved in every community I've been involved with, this is where the line is drawn with me. That comment struck a nerve with me. It hit my heart. I'm in it for the players and always will be for the players. And it rattled me that someone could be so factually incorrect in saying I was not part of Greg Brooks's care and support. When my integrity and character is being attacked, I need to respond.
Well, I would have expected him to respond, and now it's just a matter of who do you believe?
Right.
Because these are two completely conflicting stories. None of us were there. There's a lawsuit that is involved here, which is going to affect what Kelly or LSU can say. Again, this is a pretty emotional thing. If you watch that interview, it was very difficult to watch because Greg Brooks is I think he's 23 years old, young man who is obviously going to have a long rehabilitative road, and it was very, very difficult to watch. I don't think there's anybody could have watched that doesn't feel for that young man and what he's already been through and what he will continue to go through. That being said, the Brooks family is saying one thing and Kelly is saying another. So it's up to people to decide which story is more accurate. I'm not here to say one way or the other. I wasn't there. So Scott, your read on what Kelly said.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're gonna, from his perspective, he's just from what he said. He said that they felt that they did what they could for him and were supportive of him. And of course, the family is saying they didn't catch this right and they didn't do it right, and they're blaming the doctor as well who did the surgery and everything. In my opinion, I think the family is thinking he had this NFL career ahead of him that he'll never now have, and the whole thing from a human aspect is tragic. I think there's probably hope on the Brooks family part of getting some kind of settlement at some point. I mean, what else would you? Would you hope to gain from this? To the extent that you're not going to gain what you think he might have had in an NFL career, and I don't know if he would have had an NFL career or not. We'll never know. But from Kelly's perspective, he feels, and this is a guy who obviously gets a lot of criticism nationally and locally and everywhere. And for him to I've never seen him in the time he's been at LSU react to anything like he did to this, and obviously he feels this. This is a personal attack, and where the motivation comes up from, he didn't say, and it obviously could impact his relations with trying to bring players into the program going forward. So it's going to be very interesting. I already see Brian Kelly is viral on X, on the former
Sure.
Twitter. So now you can imagine why.
Okay, first of all, I wasn't there, and the second thing is I'm not a doctor. The NFL thing, I'm sure, will come up in the lawsuit, but to me, it's secondary. You have a 23-year-old, 24-year-old young man who probably is not going to be able to live a normal life. And so what this case is going to be about is that somebody's fault? Was there negligence at some point, or did this just happen? He had a brain tumor. I'm not qualified to answer that. But, like I said, the NFL thing may come up. I'm not going to sit here and talk about a man that's disabled right now as a NFL prospect and whether he was or not. This is to me about leading as normal a life as is possible for him at this point. And there'll be a court at some point that is going to assign blame for that if they do, in fact, do that. So Kelly responding to the Brooks family interview earlier this week on Good Morning America. Let me move on to the new hire is Alex Atkins, the tight ends coach coming from Florida State. He has spent some time in Louisiana. He was at Tulane for 3 years on that staff. He's been at Florida State since 2020. Any info that you got? Any read on Alex Atkins?
He did mention it. He's coming in as the Titans coach and run game coordinator. He said he obviously brings a great deal of experience, having been an offensive coordinator at Florida State. He gives another. He said he adds another. He was careful to say this too. He has another perspective in the room, along with Brad Davis, the offensive line coach. But he said he will not be stepping on Brad's toes. He was clear to say that. He said it's great to get someone who's kind of experienced in the building run games, and he said to help that his expertise will help him being Kelly with the overall vision he has for the offense. So it was just obviously we've all seen LSU's run game the passing game has been terrific the last few years. The running game, aside from Jaden Daniels scrambling everywhere, has been lacking at times. So obviously they're hoping to improve that balance with this addition.
They were able to keep the whole coaching staff intact except for this position. They did turn over several analysts, and I don't know if he talked about that today. Adkins was among the group that was let go at Florida State, so they're picking up part of the freight here. Did he say anything about the turnover in analysts?
Yeah, he said there was a lot said here. I'm still waiting through my. You're talking about Tim Rattay, and he said they're adding a guy named Antonio Parks from Oregon. So there's a couple more in the HR portal pipeline that he can't talk about yet, but they're coming on board. And all they're talking about 8 positions of guys, of changes they're making. Mostly, as you said, in the support staff. It's a very, you would say this for LSU with some of the star players coming back like Nussmeier and Guillory. And some of the other guys coming back that Harold Perkins, and there's a lot of continuity on the staff as well in terms of position coaches. But there has been a lot of movement with the analysts and support staff, and that's going on. He was also asked, getting rid of some support staff as we've seen, like former players and stuff. Is that streamlining that LSU has had to do because revenue sharing is going to be supposedly coming online this summer with the advent of the House settlement that goes through. And he said no. He said, I know other programs have had to do that, but he said LSU was not having to do that. So that was his take on that.
Really? Okay. They also elevated J.R. Belton to Director of Football Operations. He's going to report directly to the General Manager, Austin Thomas, as I understand. There's a lot of layers of management that have been added just in the last few years to every college football program, and they much more resemble NFL front offices now than they have. Scott, we'll have more time to visit about this next week. Appreciate it. Enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Scott Rabelais at The Advocate.
Yes, indeed. Tomorrow we'll be down the street over at Finbom Sushi Burrito Poke Ramen. Looking forward to that. And don't forget over here, Valentine's Day specials here at Modesto. Table for 2 for just $40. Super Bowl catering. Mention you heard us right here live at lunch. And also 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Catering for the Super Bowl is 15% off. And, of course, we are honoring the second week of Restaurant Week through this Saturday here at Modesto as well. Great savings there.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch. Thank you for everybody for participating. Thanks to Jordan back in the studio. For Jimmy Out, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. And stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.